Give me a black female protagonist whose ordinary life magically changes on her 20th birthday. With promises of a crown, a kingdom to rule, dimensional travel, and powers, both literally and figuratively, and a fantasy romance that will have you anxious to follow this leading lady's epic quest. Are you ready?
The Books and Vogue podcast. Come get your favorite next book. The Books and Vogue podcast with Catherine Brad.
Welcome, book lovers, to the Books on Vogue podcast. This is your premier listening experience, all about immersive reading and helping avid and reluctant readers alike imagine book characters like never before. I'm your host, Kat Trinidad. The format of the show is I introduce a book, share tips on how you can engage your senses as you read this title, because it's one thing to be a mood reader, but you get a little something extra from the story when you are set the mood reader. And finally, I will end the show with a reimagining of my favorite scene. Today, we will discuss techniques for getting into a certain slant of light with none other than the author, CP Toit. Welcome, CP.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, and please call me Sip.
Absolutely, no problem. So, Sip, please tell us about the book.
Of course, yeah. So, A Certain Slant of Light is a story of a young woman named Saleh. She lives in our world. She's a college student, just a regular girl by all accounts. But on the night of her 20th birthday, she's transported to an alternate world where she's told she's the queen of a country called Isway. She is immediately thrown into her new nation's conflicts. There's a hostile neighboring nation, her own unwillingness to accept her new role, a legacy of colonialism. She's told she has magic, but she's pretty convinced that that's not true. And of course, there's a lord hell bent on sabotaging her reign before it can even begin. And I always like to joke about that last bit because it wouldn't really be a fantasy romance without some guy, some lord, someone getting in the way. But yeah, I kind of think this book is a strange cross between Princess Diaries and Black Panther, which sounds a little bit weird, but somehow it all comes together and it works.
I'm here for it. I'm here for all of that. And I want to say thank you so much for that awesome synopsis. um, do you care to join me in a discussion of some tips for setting the reading mood?
Of course, that'd be great. Let's do it.
Well, okay, book lovers, I hope you have your writing utensils ready because class is in session.
Hear it, see it, smell it, sense it, taste it, touch it. Hear it, see it, smell it, sense it, taste it, touch it. Hear it, see it, smell it, sense it, taste it, touch it. The Books and Vogue podcast.
So, Sip, what's the vibe? How can we engage our spirit as we read this book?
Sure. So this story really is a what if. What if we broke away from Eurocentric fantasy? What if this fantasy world pulled from African sources? What if our female main character was diverse? So I'd suggest just being open-minded as you read the story. Really let yourself break away from that kind of traditional fantasy romance that you might know and be ready for something a little bit different. I had quite a few of my reviewers who said that this is a breath of fresh air in the genre. So just don't expect exactly what you would expect from other fantasy romances that you may have read.
Okay. So, what's the sound of a certain slant of light? What key notes in music or nature could set the tone as we read this novel?
Sure. Yeah. So, in my attempt to spice together Southern African elements with a more traditional fantasy story, I did pull on certain sounds like djembe drums, marimba, traditional Southern African flutes. So you'll hear, well, I shouldn't say you'll hear, also the character hears all of these in the book. So it's something that you could kind of imagine when you're reading as well. So to get into the book by sound, I'd suggest looking up some of those sounds, put them on in the background. YouTube has quite a good, few videos that share the different sounds. Maybe Spotify has some playlists as well. So I would just listen to those so you can kind of imagine what Saleh may hear for herself.
Okay. So, do share the aesthetics. This can be any visuals aside from the book, such as lighting.
Sure. So one of the main themes of the book is light, and how that marks a difference in the worlds. So the land of Isway has these really brilliant red sunrises and sunsets. The sky is a sapphire blue. The light that spills into Sally's window is buttery and soft. The candles in the palace are orange and flickering. So for readers to engage with this, the best thing would really be to pick up the book, maybe at golden hour and into sunset, light a candle as the light dies, sort of see and experience the light as the character is.
Okay, okay. So, what's the flavor? Any food or drink companions for this title?
Of course, yeah. So I've gotten this question a few times with this book, and I love it every time. I incorporated so many Southern African foods into this novel, from kudu and ostrich to rooibos tea and a corn-based staple in Southern Africa called pop. It might not be really easy for readers to get a hold of kudu or pop in their grocery stores, but they could get a hold of rooibos tea. So sometimes it's sold under the name red tea. You could pick some up from wherever you shop. I'd suggest brewing a cup and then just settle in to read the story and again, just experience what Sale would be experiencing.
Okay. So, what's the aroma? Are there any smells to transport us into the pages?
So this question is harder. So for me, I could smell the scenes of A Certain Slant of Light because I lived in Southern Africa for years. Um, all the scenes, they smelled like dust and burning wood, warm thatch roofs, and the sharpness of crushed plants. To mirror this, I would suggest lighting your fireplace or putting on an herbaceous candle, or you could just go outside and sit in the grass. So much of this book is about the beauty of the natural world and this fantasy world. So immersing yourself in that while reading is a great option.
Okay. So, how can we get more of the feels?
Sure. So you can go to Southern Africa. But I joke about that because I know that not everyone can do it. But I did have one reader who happened to read A Certain Scent of Light while she was in Cape Town, South Africa. And she messaged me and said it was such an amazing experience being able to be in one of the places that inspired my writing, to kind of see what I was seeing and feel what I was feeling while I was thinking about this story and these characters. So, again, not possible for everyone to just hop on a plane and fly to Cape Town. But you can Google image search South Africa and Southern Africa. It sounds a little bit hokey, but when I miss South Africa, I watch the Expedia travel guide for Cape Town. It's on YouTube and it does a really great job of just showing off the natural beauty of the region and some of the sites and the general landscape and layout that the characters would be in and would be experiencing.
Okay. Well, there you go, book lovers. These are your recommended supplies as you read this title. If you're able, pause and get some of these if available, or simply imagine because it's time for my favorite scene. Disclaimer, please note that exact words, names, locations, and or scenarios mentioned in this reimagined reenactment may differ from the actual book. Sharing my favorite scenes, I reenacted those, imagining the fiction world that I've been reading of. Going from all the things, I just gave you a list. Come experience all the senses as protagonists. And it don't get more real than this. Immersive read with books on both and live vicariously. The Queen We Need, starring C.P. Du Toit as Saleh and the narrator and Kat Trinidad as Finn.
You could have been seen, you know. Soft as I said it, I'm sure he heard the rebuke in those words.
I was careful.
I'm sure, but still, it's risky coming here,
Would you like me to leave?
he countered, setting down his wine again and turning his knees so he faced me square on, rather than half angled to the fire as he had been. I set my wine down with a sigh. No, I don't want you to leave. I just want you to be careful, I told him. And then I rose and walked to him. He sat back, already anticipating what I would do, and I marveled anew at how well he knew me, my body, and the way my mind worked. I perched on one of his knees. I'm sorry I'm not myself tonight,
I wouldn't expect you to be.
he said, laying a hand on the side of my face.
That's why I came.
I nodded against his palm, before turning to lay a kiss against it. Then I caught his eye. I'm all right. Shocked, but all right. I just can't believe this is real. His brows furrowed in the firelight.
What do you mean?
I did not know how to explain it. and suddenly my legs felt restless, as if I could not speak while sitting still. I stood and moved towards the fire, pacing more than anything.
Queen Saleh?
Finn called softly, and when I turned to him, I realized he too was standing. I shook my head, not sure I had the words to explain what had gone through my mind tonight. I had to try, though, for Finn to understand. A handful of months ago, I was just torn out of the human realm and dropped here into the altar realm. I was told I'm queen and that there is some huge important prophecy about me, and everyone has such expectations for me. But what if I'm not the one? What if I'm not the queen that this nation needs? I'm just Saleh, just an ordinary girl who went to her 20th birthday party and ended up hurtling through the stars and into a new realm. I have no right to be a queen, no right to rule people. I can hardly take care of myself, let alone have the responsibility of taking care of a kingdom. Finn was quiet while I ranted, and only when I paused to take a breath did he insert,
You can because it's your destiny.
"My destiny." I let the words sit before me like some type of movie screen, showing me at different ages and choices, different decision points in life. And what if I don't want it? But Finn was having none of that. He shook his head sharply and then moved to join me before the fireplace.
Stop this.
"Why?" I asked, and the word came out more of a whimper than the angry, frustrated cry I meant it to be. But Finn knew me. He was the first to see through my habit of storming off, my bursts of temper and embarrassment, my resistance to making a fool of myself, and I was sure he understood the helplessness that coursed through my veins now. His gaze softened, and he took my face in his hands, meeting my eyes with his sharp blue ones.
You think you're ordinary, but you're not. You're extraordinary. You think you're not fit, but you are. You have a presence, a surety, a good head on your shoulders, and a strong moral compass. That's more than most rulers have here. That's more than most rulers ever have. This is your destiny, Queen Saleh. And it's yours for a reason.
His blind faith touched a hopeful, wishing part of me. Tears blurred my vision, and I did not try to stop myself from drawing an inch closer into his chest. "I don't want it. I just want to be Saleh." He stroked a hand down my back.
I know, but someday this will matter. Someday you'll want this. And when you do, know that you're enough and that you're capable. You're the queen we need.
I had no words in reply. I knew I did not deserve such honor and loyalty, and I know too that Finn would fight me if I said as much. I merely nodded. I was done talking about this. I was too tired, too weary, and so I let my head fall forward until it rested on Finn's shoulder.
Book lovers, if you have enjoyed this sneak peek, you can get more by reading the whole book, A Certain Slant of Light by C.P. Toit. It's available at your local library and everywhere books are sold. And if it's not, request it because you deserve to read all the books that interest you. And if you have already read A Certain Slant of Light or in the middle of reading it, let me know in the comments what you like to do to set the mood for reading because I would love to hear from you. So please leave your feedback. Did you know you can support the show by downloading and becoming a member of the Alive Podcast Network app? The Books in Vogue podcast is now part of the Alive Podcast Network. And by downloading the Alive Podcast Network app, you'll experience unlimited access to other Black hosted content and will be able to keep bringing you amazing content week after week. I encourage you to check out the app. And if anyone asks, tell them Kat sent you. Sip, is there anything else you would like to share with the listeners?
Sure, yeah. So, writing this book and working through the series has truly been a labor of love. I have always loved the fantasy and romance genres, and I became completely enamored with Southern Africa when I lived there in my late teens and early 20s. So, being able to combine these different loves has been a real pleasure. And I hope my readers can feel that joy and that celebration on every page of the book. I also just wanted to share that the sequel, A Glow from the Window, is set to come out this year, probably the end of this year, because it's already, midway. And the third book is in first draft form. So we're targeting a late 2026, early 2027 release date for that third book, and it will be the final book in Sally's story. So if you want any more updates, I encourage listeners to follow on my social media. I'm mostly on Instagram at cpdutoy_writes. I don't post as much as I should, but when I do post and I do all the updates, it's always on Instagram. So follow me there.
Definitely looking forward to that sequel and that ending third book to the trilogy. Thank you so much for that. And I want to say thank you, Sip, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast being on the podcast.
Absolutely. And thank you, book lovers, for listening. With peace, much love, and joy. Happy reading.
The Books and Vogue Podcast. Come get your favorite next book. The Books and Vogue Podcast. With Catherine Subscribe, listen, check out recommendations, and happy reading.